Hey everyone, welcome to sunny San Diego, California. I'm Julie Chang, a licensed realtor with Pacific Sotheby's International Realty. I'll be talking about the San Diego housing market with various industry experts in a series of videos. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, please drop me an email, which you'll find at the end of this video or in the video description below. This is part two of a two-part series. Matt Young, a lender with NBC Financial, and I discuss housing affordability as rates move up or down and give you an update on San Diego housing buying and selling conditions. If you missed part one, the video title is October 2021 San Diego Housing Market Update. We discuss rates, including the Fed funds rate, mortgage rates, mortgage-backed security purchases, quantitative easing, and a Great Recession. Before we jump back into mortgage affordability, let's take a look at where San Diego housing prices currently are and have been to give you context. This first chart is a median sales price chart for detached homes in San Diego County. The red text as well as the black highlighted text in yellow are my annotations to NMLS data. So going from left to right, the first points 1 and 3 are calculated, average 12-month high lows on the median prices during the last market cycle, to give you more statistically significant data versus looking at the raw numbers. Some months have a higher number of homes that close, others less, different home sizes, condition, other factors that affect price. Point 2 is the percentage decline, 38%, using the 12-month average high-low. And point 4 is the time to recovery, about 11 years or how long you would have had to hold your home if you bought in that '06 time frame and you want to sell it at the same price you paid for it, not inflation adjusted and not accounting for any other factors. The last 2 points in red are 1 year ago September data and this past month's data. So year over year detached home prices as of September are up about 16% for the county. So back to what happens if interest rates go up. Looking at the last time the Fed talked about any quantitative easing, the perception or the fear of the end of QE really ramped up in 2018 to drive rates up enough to slow housing. And this is reflected in the yellow annotated text where prices fell 7.6% between August 18 and January 19, which is a pretty short window of time. On the attached chart, if you look at the fourth point, July of 2018, this is where prices reached their prior high, March of '06. Condos took about a year longer to recover than detached, or 12 years. So the detached and attached county rate charts are not really that materially different from one another when you look at percentage decline and time frames of recovery. But when you go to other parts of the county, you will see other differences as well as current year-over-year gains. So I think that goes back to the old adage that, it's about location. What has the current pricing run-up meant in terms of affordability and monthly payments? I'm going to let Matt talk about affordability at various interest rates and how debt-to-income ratios impact how you qualify for a loan.
By and large, banks are allowing you to borrow between 45 and 50% of your gross income. And I give that range because it really depends upon credit score and a few other factors that aren't important right now. But generally speaking, 45 to 50%. So somebody making 60,000 a year on an income, they can borrow, divide that by 12, is $5,000 a month. Most of the time, if you've got good credit, a lender will let you borrow $2,500 a month, half of that $5,000 a month. And that $2,500 a month is a figure that should encompass not only that new house payment, but also any other existing debts, minimum monthly payments that you might already have. So that's minimum credit card payments reported on your credit report, car payments, student loan payments, all that goes into that $2,500. So the more debt you have, the more difficult it is to qualify for a larger purchase price, right? So what's happened over the last year, 18 months, as rates have come down, you can see the difference in that chart and your monthly payment. You've got several $100s of savings and interest that people who bought 18 months ago had that you don't necessarily have now, which can be put, all that savings can be put to buying homes that are more expensive now. They've gone up in value. So the payment might be the same because the interest rate has dropped. Now we're in an environment where, okay, we might be looking at rates going up. And so the reverse could be true. We could have more people being priced out of the market because of that debt ratio cap, that $2,500 cap on that $60,000 a year income. As rates go up, that interest is going to eat up more of the buying power. And so we could see some slowing down there in the ability of prices to go up.
Well, and that's what we saw in 2018, right? Is that housing basically slowed and prices came down because rates were moving up. And ultimately, I mean, unless people's incomes are rising or they are making money elsewhere, being gifted money to put more money down, they have to, the debt to income ratio is really kind of the limit, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to qualify for a mortgage unless you have cash. And that's the majority of Americans, they are taking out mortgages, right? So that's kind of the, the what stops housing prices from just continuing to run away.
Generally speaking, yeah, you're right. It's a cap.
The takeaway message for people who are concerned about interest rates is that, I wouldn't get too caught up in where rates are because affordability and qualifying for a mortgage is really about the combination of your income, hopefully, which is rising, as well as, what pricing is doing, and then the rates, right? And it's really about monthly payment.
Monthly
So
payment, yeah.
it's, going back to looking at, if you borrow at 2.5% versus 5%, I mean, that is really going to be the ultimate test and kind of the final say in which someone can qualify for a loan. And so those numbers have to adjust, right? I mean, the market's going to have to adapt if rates continue to climb. Housing prices, people just aren't going to be able to afford it. And so I think that's the good news, right? For people looking to buy is, there is going to be some adjustment like we potentially saw in 2018. And so if you are a buyer, it's really more about focusing on finding the right home. If you're a seller, let's talk about inventory. I mean, I think that there are, again, some misperceptions about inventory. So everyone has just heard this last year, there's no inventory, there's no inventory. Inventory is defined as months of inventory, right? And so what that means is that if in one given zip code, 30 homes are on the market and 10 sell, then we have 3 months of inventory because it takes 3 months to sell through those 30 homes. And anything under 3 months is considered a seller's market. Once you get into 4 and 5, you're in a more balanced market. And once you hit 6, we are in a buyer's market. And so right now we are sitting at about 1 or less months of inventory. And that means standing inventory. So we don't have a lot of homes that are sitting on the market. I think what people where the misperception comes in is that there are no homes being sold. And so if you actually look at homes sold last year, we sold more homes last year than we did in prior years. So there's plenty of homes being sold. There was just overwhelming demand last year. What's different about this market compared to the Great Recession is that inventory was climbing prior to the market crash and got up north of 1 year's worth of inventory. People are staying in their homes longer. Matt, I mean, you saw a lot of people refinance last year, right? So people are choosing to stay in those homes.
Yeah. Prior to the Great Recession, people were, I think the average was around 5 years, if I remember correctly. And now it's closer to 10 years that people are staying in their homes. And what you said about making the choice of buying a home about the home and not the rate, you should never buy a home based upon what the interest rate is, because you never know when the bottom of the interest rate market hits until you're past it. So there's really no way to time a home purchase with the absolute perfect time, the lowest interest rate that's exists. Because even looking at the charts, we didn't know the bottom was where it was a month ago until we're here now off the bottom. So I think that's a really important point you made.
Right. And so I think that, looking at the combination and the key takeaways is, inventory is really low. So if you're a seller, you don't have to compete with a lot of homes, right? Because they are selling. They're continuing to sell and people don't have a lot of choices. If you're a buyer, I think the good news is that, the housing market is slowing a bit. So market time is an indication of how quickly a market is moving. A home goes into the MLS. How many days does it take for the seller, inclusive of showings and negotiating offers, to accept an offer and go into escrow or pending status? Looking at September solds, market time was 12 and 10 median days for detached versus attached, and 21 and 20 were the averages. Pending data, which are properties in escrow today, October 24th, 2021, market time is not that different from September solds. But for active properties that are available for sale right now, market time is double. So what does that tell us? We're seeing what I suspect is return to normalcy pre-COVID home selling conditions. So what's fairly normal is that highly desirable homes sell quickly, get multiple offers, versus homes that have less desirability to the largest pool of buyers, may not be priced correctly. Those homes are more likely to sit on the market longer, have fewer showings, and go through a series of price reductions. COVID introduced unique conditions. So during the stay-at-home order, if you were stuck at home, it could be a pressure cooker environment. If you didn't have desirable or functional living conditions, didn't have enough room, didn't have enough or any outdoor space. Coupled with low interest rates, many buyers were super motivated to buy. So in the past 12 months, the overwhelming buyer demand meant less desirable homes for a multitude of reasons, such as noise, location, busy road, poor condition. Those were still selling quickly. Now that people are going back to the office, traveling, returning to normalcy, some of that intense energy focused on housing has abated. So some buyers also got priced out of the market and they're taking breaks due to fatigue. And lastly, I think seasonality has returned. So the takeaways are that if you're buying, but we don't have a crystal ball, you should focus on affordability, finding the right home that you can see yourself living in for many years to come. If you're a seller, understand your home's desirability in relation to what a buyer's alternatives are and price accordingly. There are buyer optics and psychology in how a home is priced. As we head into the holidays, we'll have to see how much seasonality returns this year compared to last year, where the market never really slowed during the holidays. So that's a wrap for now. Any questions, please reach out to Matt or myself, and thanks for joining us.